Hey you guys, I am back with a different type of video. This is my wax introduction, wax 101 type video. And I am not intending to quote unquote like steal this from anyone if there's anybody out there that has done this before. I do not believe I've run across this, on YouTube, but it's not like I've spent hours and hours trying to research if someone has done this before. If they have, I apologize. I'm not intending to steal anyone's idea. If, well, I guess what I'm trying to say. I have only been in the wax community for 4 months, 5 months at the most. So there is a lot out there that I still do not know. And I debated whether or not to do this video because I felt like, well, maybe I need to be in the wax community a little bit longer, be a little bit more familiar with things before I try to put out like a wax 101 video. But there are people joining the wax community every single day. I think it's only growing like exponentially. It just seems like people are hearing about it, learning about it on YouTube, on Facebook. People's friends at work, friends, family are getting more into it. So I don't think there's anything but growth coming for the wax community. And for people that are new to the wax community, maybe intimidated by what's going on, they don't know which vendors to order from. They don't understand, when people say tat or grubby, what are they talking about? This is what this video is. For anyone out there, of course, that the other YouTubers that I talk to over these videos or anybody else, if I say something that's incorrect or if you have a very strong opinion different from mine, please put it in the comments. So if anybody new watches this, obviously these are my own opinions. I'm not an expert. I could get things wrong. What I'm hoping to do is to introduce you to the world of wax. This is like a jumping off point that you guys can use to go do some research on your own. I am going to talk about vendors in this video. Not really favorite vendors, but I'm going to show you different vendors' products. I'm not intending to endorse one vendor over the other vendor. I strongly believe that you should try everything for yourself. Some people may say, oh, I hate vendor X. Like, I hate them. They're terrible. Their wax is terrible. I really think you got to try it for yourself. And, you can listen to other people's opinions, to, take them with a grain of salt. Even, obviously my opinions too. But I just want to, show you guys basically what is out there. What is out there. This video is only going to address wax tarts. I'm not going to talk about candles. I am not well versed in candles. There are people out there that are candle experts, like know what a good burn is versus a bad burn. I'm not one of those people. So this is a wax tart only video. So the first thing I want to say is, what is a wax tart? Now, they're not always called wax tarts. I've heard them before as, I think, wax melts, tarts, wax chunks. I mean, there's a lot of different names for what they call this, but what a wax tart is in general, it is a piece of wax that is scented, just like this, and there's no wick. And you guys may have run across wax tarts first with Yankee. I think they may have been the ones that started using the name tart. So what you do with this is you put this piece of wax in what's called a warmer, and I'll talk about those in a second. And it melts into a pool of wax. It does not evaporate like a candle. So the wax will stay there in the warmer the entire time it's melted. And when it's melted, it releases the fragrance oils that are in here. And it goes out and, it fills up your room, hopefully your whole room or multiple rooms with scent. And the wax tarts last anywhere between, it depends on the vendor and also the type of, the fragrance oil that's using. Some are stronger than others. I would say if you can get 6 to 8 hours out of a wax tart, you're probably doing pretty good. Some will burn out faster depending on the wattage of the warmer that you use. Some will last you for a day, a full 24 hours. I've heard of wax tarts lasting for multiple days. It really depends. You kind of have to experiment with it. But this is a wax tart. They come in different forms, even though we call them wax tarts, right? So like these, are grubby hearts. These are wax tarts. This is a different one, called a clamshell, and, that's a wax tart. These are chunks, things like that. I'm going to get into more of that in a second. But pretty much any piece of wax that doesn't have a wick that is fragranced, I would consider a wax tart / wax melt, something like that. Alright, so this is a this is a wax melt that I have right here / wax tart that I started melting in this 24-watt hot plate warmer when I came home from work. It might have been about 30 minutes ago. So you can see here, this is what the wax tart's supposed to do, right? You put it in here and it just starts melting and it forms this nice pool of wax, and it stays like this, like melted, all the way melted until you are, done with it. At which point, and when are you done with the wax tart? You're done with the wax tart, it depends. It's either when the wax tart runs out of fragrance, which I said could be, 6 to 24 hours, however long it's going to be. Average, I would say 6 to 8. Or just whenever you're tired of it. I've heard of people that really put on a tart for 2 to 3 hours, they get bored of it, and then they shift it. Some people will put on a wax tart and melt it until the fragrance is completely out. It's really up to you. It just depends, I think, on how much you like the fragrance, and then how much money are you willing to invest in your habit. If you're changing out the wax tart every 2 to 3 hours, obviously it's going to cost you more money, where if you just kind of bleed as much fragrance as you can out of the tart. So this is just an example of one going here. This is a Rainbow Melts bundt cake in, I think it was like blueberry butter brittle something, but anyways, it smells really good. So that's what I have going here today. This is a 24 watt hot plate warmer, and there's some people that do really good videos on warmers, so if you guys want to see that, I would suggest you know, Googling or YouTubing those types of videos. That they will talk like for 10 to 20 minutes on warmers only. But just as a general thing, this is a hot plate warmer. So there you can see that is the hot plate here. You know, this has a removable bowl that you put on top. The wax melts. There's a nice little light there that tells you that it is on, and it also has an on-off switch right there. So this one is from Yankee Candle. I think it's like $22. This is my, I think this one is my absolute favorite warmer. I have one over here, actually, so my video is all weird. So this is what the wax tart will look like when it's done. It's completely hardened. It's stuck in there, right? And you're probably wondering, well, what the heck do you do with it now? So this is another warmer that I have down here that looks like that. This is a wax tart from Super Tarts that I had melting earlier. I have put this in the freezer for about 30 minutes, and wax will actually contract when it's cold instead of expand. So there you go. You saw that, right? Like it just, there, and it comes out in one chunk, and here you go. And all you do now is you throw this in the trash, and you're done. And now I have another empty warmer here that I can use to throw in another wax tart. There are different ways to empty out your warmers. This is the method that I prefer. It does mean that you have to have, ideally, a warmer with a removable bowl, because you know, if you have warmers that are one thing, you'd have to stick the whole thing in the freezer. You probably don't want to do that. So I would suggest, if you want to use that technique, you look for one with a bowl like that. There are also, people also will just pour the wax out into like an old jar, you know, like an old spaghetti sauce jar, whatever you have, right? And then just pour it out hot, and then that way you don't have to worry about like putting that in the freezer and taking time. So it's like if I wanted to just change this out right now, you know, I could pour that out into a jar and just plop in something else, you know, wipe it out with the paper towel, plop in something else, and I'm good to go. I'm good to change it. It's really up to you. I prefer, like I said, I prefer the freezer method because, you know, for me pouring all the hot wax, I know I'm gonna eventually one day put it on my counter and I'm gonna be like screaming or whatever, drop it on the carpet. So it's just really up to you. There's different types of warmers. I prefer hot plate warmers. Every single warmer that I have is a hot plate. Hot plate warmers come in different wattages. So what you want to do is when you get a warmer, if you look on the bottom here, this one says right there, 24 watt. That's about the highest type of wattage warmer that you can get, I would say. There's different wattages. I've seen, I think, 24 watt, 20 watt, 18 watt. I even have one that's like 12 watt. That's from Scentsy. That's a hot plate warmer. Now the wattages of the warmers, what that means is that the higher the wattage, the hotter the wax is going to get. So for some of the wax tarts that are maybe more paraffin, it's a harder wax, you probably want to throw into a higher wattage warmer. Also though, if the wattage is higher, that means that the wax, the fragrance is probably going to evaporate faster. So your tarts will probably have a stronger throw. I'll explain that in a second. They're going to have a stronger scent throw, so more scent, but it's going to dissipate faster. So there are some people that play around and they try to find the perfect wattage, just like Goldilocks. Like, how strong do you want to smell your tart versus how long do you want it to last? What wattage works best? You know, some are too low to melt some. You know, some may just, the tart will run out of fragrance super fast and you'll be, you know, angry at what you did. You really kind of have to play with it. Each company is different. Each scent is different. I tend to just melt everything in an 18 watt or higher. Just because I like having more scents, and I really don't care necessarily how long it lasts, because, you know, I like changing out my wax, you know, kind of frequently as well. So that really is up to you. There are light bulb warmers that I don't have any here. I think the more used ones, I think, are Scentsy, that has like a 40 watt light bulb in the warmer, and it's just a light, you know, like a light bulb, and then it's got like a thing on top, kind of similar, right, and melts the wax. I know that obviously with the new rules out, you know, with the CFL bulbs, I believe this year the 40 watt bulbs, you can't buy those anymore, I think. So I don't know what that means for the warmers. Please, somebody out there more familiar with light bulb warmers, comment below on what that means for all of the light bulb warmers. You can also get tea light warmers where there's like a little tea light and it's normally like some kind of hanging little dish. I only have one, it's a Halloween one, so I don't have one to show. And those you can also use as well. I tend to not use those because the thing about me is I want to have great scent without an open flame. You know, that's the whole reason I don't do candles. I just don't like the open flame. But if you like a specific type of look, and I hear that those work well as well, then you may want to get yourself a tea light warmer. So hot plates, light bulbs, and tea lights, I believe, are the 3 types of warmers, but please look for those videos to get a better idea of the different types of warmers, because I'm sure other people are much more experienced with that than I am. Okay, now I want to talk about wax in terms of different types of wax used in wax tarts. You're normally going to find either a paraffin, a para-soy blend, so a paraffin soy wax blend, soy wax, or palm wax. And I believe those are the only types of wax that at least I've come across in my time in the wax community. So one example of a company that does 100% paraffin, this is Candles from the Keeping Room. I'll get more into this later. She does 100% paraffin wax tarts. Paraffin is very hard. You can see here, like, it's very hard. Exactly, right? And this is the kind of wax that you need to melt in a hot plate warmer. I normally melt mine in a 24-watt warmer. I don't know how well it melts in a 20 or 18-watt warmer. Somebody out there can comment below, let me know. So this is at 100% paraffin. I would say that most of the companies out there do a para-soy blend of wax. And one company that I know their para-soy blend is Rainbow Melts. And you can tell here, so for example, like, if you look in this bag here from Candles from the Keeping Room, you see there's not a whole lot of wax residue in there, right? Because this is a harder wax. If you look into para-soy blends, you'll see that it's a softer type of wax, so you'll see that you start to get like more residue on the wax. If you ship it during the summer, it's a little softer, could run into problems. I'm not saying this specifically with Rainbow Melts, you guys. I love Rainbow Melts. She's one of my favorite vendors. But just in general, para-soy wax, you have to understand, is a little bit softer than paraffin. So if I take this one out, but it's still hard. So I don't know specifically, like Crystal, like who runs Rainbow Melts, like what the percentage is from paraffin wax to soy wax. But it is, see there, I was able to snap that in half. Oh my goodness, I killed him. Oh, I'm so sorry, little bear. I know, you smell delicious. You smell delicious over here. But you can see like that one, it's a little bit softer. I don't think I could do that with this one. See, it's a little bit harder. So para-soy. This is an example of a company I know that does 100% soy, and you can see it on there, 100% natural soy wax. Soy wax is normally going to be the softest type of wax that you can find out there. Oh, okay, so sorry, I did that off camera, but I just like kind of pushed out the bottom here, and you can see like this little cube here just like popped right out. So it's a softer type of wax. Sometimes I found that it tends to be a little bit kind of like crumbly. Like you see this one's a little crumbly, and but that's just, you know, that's just the way that soy wax is. Steel Valley Scents, they do palm wax, and there's not a whole lot of companies that do palm wax, but I don't know if you can tell in the camera, this kind of got this crystally, really pretty looking kind of look. And the one thing I found out with palm wax is they tend to be easier to get out of the warmers. I know before I showed you with the warmers how it kind of slid out when it's cold. Sometimes they don't do that. Sometimes you got to get a butter knife in there and like scridge around a little bit to get it to pop out. Soy wax or palm wax, I've never had a problem. It just kind of slides out. So I guess what is the difference? I really couldn't tell you why some vendors use para-soy versus paraffin versus soy. I do want to talk about one thing actually here, and that is what's called throw. Throw is the term that's used to talk about like how well does the scent maybe like fill up the room, how much okay. I'm really not an expert at this. I'm sure people out there are going, "Ah, you idiot." But basically for throw, if it has a good throw, that means that it's going to, like, you know, fill up the room, fill up multiple rooms. It's going to smell strong. It's going to smell a large volume of you know, air. If it has a weak throw, then, you know, it's one of those ones that you have to hover like right near the warmer to smell it, and you may or may not be able to smell it that well. That would be something with a bad throw. So the better the throw, the better I would say the tart. Now, vendors, when they are, you know, a lot of them when they're opening, they will experiment with different types of wax to see what they think has the best throw. You know, I cannot tell you why it would change or something depending on like what wax you use. But, you know, some vendors will change their wax formula because if it doesn't have a good throw, they'll get feedback and they'll change the wax formula to have a better throw. like I said, I can't really get into that, but pretty much paraffin, para-soy, soy, and palm are the main ones that you're gonna run into, I would say, out there in the wax community. And like I said, throw is just, you know, how well and how much volume, I would say, of air, cubic feet of air, you know, can the tart fill? How far can you smell it from the warmer? How well can you smell it from the warmer? I would say that is throw. You will also hear people talk about warm throw versus cold throw. Warm throw is how well is it throwing when it is warm, you know, when it's melted. Cold throw, I would say, is kind of synonymous with cold sniff. It's basically, if I take this thing here right now and I smell it, and obviously it's cold, it's not melted, and I smell it, like, how good does it smell right now? How strong can I smell it right now? I would say that that's considered cold throw. Or some people say, like, it smells really good on cold sniff. I think that's what I tend to say. So if you hear anything with cold throw, cold sniff, first impressions, that basically means what is somebody thinking about it before it's melted. And then if you hear them toss around a term like warm throw, then that talks, or melted throw or something like that, that's what they're referring to, how well and how much does it fragrance when it is melted. Warmer. It really depends. You can put in probably, I would say, anywhere from a little less than an ounce to, I probably myself would not put in more than 2.5 ounces. Each of the warmers has a different, you know, size. What is that thing called? You know, size. That thing. You know, the cup thingy, saucer thingy, different size saucer, right? So I've seen some, I think, especially that came from like holiday ones that have a very small like saucer at the top, so you can't put in a whole lot there, and some have like very nice deep saucer. So it really depends. As long as you're not overflowing it, you're probably fine. And depending on how well things throw, and how well and how strong of a throw that you want may depend. So for example, like me, if I was gonna melt this one from Beezy's and Circus Concession, one of my favorites, I would just toss this whole thing in. So I would just go like, whoop, put it in the warmer, melt the whole darn thing, there you go. For some people, that may be too strong of a scent throw, especially if it's in a smaller room. So scent shots in general, especially this size, I think you could either throw in the whole thing. I know a lot of people would probably cut this in half and then melt half and half. If it's a tart that's not throwing especially well, you may want to melt more of it than less. For example, like this one here from Rainbow Melts, her stuff throws really well, but I would probably still throw in like 2 of these, I would say, at a time when I melt it. Candles from the Keeping Room, this one I probably would, I think I only ever throw in 1 each of her tarts, but I'm sure you could probably do 2. This one here, I would personally cut in half, because it's pretty tall. I would cut in half and do a little bit like that. Ava's Country Cupboard, I would probably, I think I'd chunk off like 8 of them and throw it. So, you know, there's no right and wrong, I would say. The only wrong would be when you overflow your saucer. Then you're probably doing something wrong. But if as long as you're not overflowing the saucer, do what you want. Obviously, you know, the more wax you put in there, you know, the stronger throw you're going to get, and the more it's going to cost you. So if you're trying to be a little bit more frugal about it, then I would say, or if you have like a smaller room and you don't necessarily need to overpower it, you know, with scent, then I would say throw in like an ounce to less than an ounce. I have gotten great throw from items that I've thrown in that were less than an ounce. And I've gotten bad throw from things that I've thrown in that were 2 ounces. Like I said, it's kind of like you just got to play with the scents, play with the vendors, and play with the different types of wax. I want to address some of the naming conventions within the wax vendors and everything. Sometimes you run across something that says type, like maybe it'll say winter candy apple type, pink sugar type. So at least my understanding of what that means is those are scent names, I think, that are like copyrighted by bigger companies like a Bath and Body Works, something like that. But there are other perfumeries out there that can try to duplicate those scents, right, and sell them legally. And I think that's why the word type ends up on there. So if you see the word type on there, that's what that means. And I think legally, all the vendors have to put that word on there in order to not like infringe on the copyright. So if you're a vendor out there, tell me if that's right. But that's always, because when I first got involved, I was like, why do some of these things have the word type behind it? One of the more, I'd say, the companies that people like to try to duplicate the fragrances more, like Bath and Body Works is popular that people try to dupe. I would say that Lush is another company that a lot of people dupe the fragrances, things like that. So that's what that is what type means when you see it. Now, another thing I want to talk about with scent is that you may look at one vendor and they may have like a pink Noel scent, and you look at another vendor and they have a pink Noel scent, and you may be thinking, well, what's the difference? Like, is it going to smell exactly the same from vendor to vendor? And that answer is no. So once again, vendors out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's a lot of companies out there that sell like the fragrance oils that go into these wax tarts. The process of making the tarts, I am not familiar with, I do not know. But one perfume vendor or fragrance oil vendor may sell a pink sugar type scent, and there may be like, I don't know, like 20 fragrance oil vendors that sell a pink sugar type scent. So then they may smell different from the other. Vendors, you know, they use the different types of wax. Some vendors may put in different percentages. Maybe somebody puts in like 40% of one and 60% of another if they're doing like a blend kind of thing. So maybe one does 50-50. So I would say that don't necessarily write off one vendor from another vendor and be like, well, I'm only going to buy from this vendor, or just assume that it's going to smell exactly the same, or assume that because you don't like it from one vendor that you won't like it from another vendor. It really depends. I found, for example, chocolate scents, there are some vendors that I don't like their chocolate scents and some that I can tolerate the chocolate scents, etc., right? So you really kind of have to try it out. But each of the vendors really kind of puts their own spin on the fragrances. So like I said, I would say just try it out, and I wouldn't be put off, you know, just because vendors have similar scents. Now, I know when I first got involved, some of the names of the scents get like really long, like frosted pine Noel sugar cookie dough zucchini bread. I'm just made that up, right? But a lot of these scents are blends, which means you have a lot of different fragrance oils in the one tart, and then maybe one will have like a sugar cookie and a pine scent and a vanilla bean Noel scent and a zucchini bread scent and like a frosting scent. So like that's how that name gets like really long and very descriptive. So sometimes if you run across things like that, that's what it's about. There may be a lot of different fragrance oils in that one specific tart. It doesn't always work like that. I mean, obviously the naming conventions are different, but I know that I was really intimidated when I first started looking at scent lists because I had no idea what was going on and why some of these names were so long. So I hope that helps out a little bit. The wax tarts come in because there's a lot of different like naming conventions out there that can be intimidating when you first get involved. So I would say probably, so starting with this, now this is from Front Porch. They are not the only vendor that has this shape, but they're probably the most well-known vendor with this particular type of shape. This is called a grubby tart, G-R-U-B-B-Y. I know when I first went onto Front Porch and tried to order, I didn't know like what a grubby tart was, and I was like, how do I order anything? Like, where's their wax? And I didn't realize that it was like listed under grubbies or something, or I don't remember, or I didn't know like what a grubby was. So this is a grubby. You know, it just looks just like that. That's one example of wax. Wax can also come in like different sorts of cute shapes, like this poor, you know, bear here from Rainbow Melts that I just murdered. You know, they can come in a shape like that. Here's some from Daphne's that are, you know, like flower shapes. They come in a pack like that. There's a whole bunch of different shapes, and I think you'll find a lot of vendors that kind of sell like in packets of like maybe 4 to 6 shapes of some sort in like a 3 to 5 ounce package. There's also scent shots. This is probably the easiest way to try scents. This is an example here from BZ Tarts. And scent shots can come in slightly different sizes. Like this is probably the scent shot size that, I'm sorry you guys, I don't think the camera's focusing. That's like kind of pretty popular here. This is like a scent shot cup here from the Closet Full of Wax. You can see it's slightly smaller. It really just kind of depends on what you want. You know, like on, it just, you know, obviously they're all good. They're just different sizes. Let's see here. What else do I have? This is, what's the best one? Clamshells. Clamshells are probably another really popular way to get wax. This is one here from Starlit Candles. So what a clamshell is it comes here and it's just in a plastic clamshell. The wax normally goes to the top like this. If you take it out, you'll see that it kind of looks something like this in a clamshell. And I believe Better Homes and Gardens, and there's a couple other companies that you can buy from that aren't private vendors that you can get clamshells from. You can also get scoopables. This is an example of a scoopable here from Tiffany Candles. Scoopables are very soft wax. You can see right there. Look at that. that you scoop out with like a plastic spoon or really whatever you want, a metal spoon, it doesn't matter. And then you can scoop as much as you want into your warmer or as little as you want into your warmer, you know, etc. Here's another example of a scoopable. This is lemon marshmallow from Front Porch. I think this one's a little bit, no, that one's pretty soft too. Ah, I got wax all over my fingers now, great. Anyway, so that's a scoopable. Those are also pretty popular ways of getting wax, especially if there's a scent that you like, that you really want a lot of. I would say that probably getting a scoopable is the way to go. Another shape that's become pretty popular are like chunks, chunky muffins, things like that. This is what I would consider maybe like a chunky square. This is from Daphne's Divine right here. So, and they normally have like chunks of different fragrances in there, normally have some kind of glitter on it, something like that. L3 Waxy Wonders is another one that does, that I think is kind of known for chunks. So here's like this chunk here, and this one is in a lot of different blends. Oh, there, the camera finally focused, something like that. So with chunks, you normally can cut this up. I don't think anyone's going to want to throw something like this into their warmer, like all of it. So I would say I would cut this up into 2 pieces. Some people may cut it up into 3 pieces, some even to 4. Like I said, it depends on how strong that you want it. But, you know, I would probably chop that up and, you know, throw it into like a smaller volume. But that's like a chunk. Another vendor that is known for chunk melts is Rose Girls. And Rose Girls, here's an example I have of Candyland. And, you know, they kind of look like that. They're very pretty. Very, very nice. So that's another way to get wax here. I know that you can buy wax in bigger volumes. Like this is from Closet Full of Wax. And these are like a bakery bag of chunks. You can buy it in loaves. This is an example of like a loaf here from Starlit Candles. You can buy it in a loaf there. I can get into what to do with the loaf later. You can also buy it in like other kind of cute shapes too. Like, look at that. Like, that's a little pie slice from Closet Full of Wax. I'm trying to think if there's any other major ones. I think that's it. But there's a lot of different variation within it. You'll find all sorts of cute shapes. You know, way decorated loaves, scoopable loaves, grubbies, grubby hearts, clamshells, big clamshells. Like this one that I have here from Dutch Candle Company. Like, look at that. It's a big, big clamshell. Here's another cute shapes from Closet Full of Wax. Like that's a little pie slice right there. You can get like this cute little shape here from Candles from the Keeping Room. Oh, I'm sorry, Candles from the Keeping Room. Candles from the Keeping Room, different types of shapes. This is one from Ava's Country Cupboard. This was like a holiday one, and this really cute, you know, snowflake shape. So pretty much, if there's something that you want to wax, if there's a holiday shape you're looking for, you know, if you like clamshells because they're clean looking, if you like loaves because you want a ton of volume, if you like scoopables because you think it's easier for you to discern how much you put into your warmer, trust me, it's out there. Somebody is carrying it. Say TAT, turnaround time, you know, if you look on like different, you know, vendors' pages, you'll see TAT. So what is that? Turnaround time is the amount of time it takes from when you place your order, you know, the vendor receives it, to when the vendor ships it out. Now, I believe that is what it is. I do not think that turnaround time counts shipping time. And on a lot of vendors' pages, you'll see that like they'll say TAT is 7 to 15 business days and does not include shipping to you. I think that's normally how they do it. So TAT can really vary anywhere from a couple of days, honestly like a day, even less than a day, to months. Really depending on what you're looking for. And some of you watching this and are new may be like, months? Like months? Are you kidding me? Well, there's some vendors out there that are very popular that the turnaround time, because it's so popular, is longer. There are some vendors that their wax is very intricate and detailed and beautiful, and, you know, it just takes them longer to do it. So it really depends. If there's a vendor that you love and it's worth waiting for, then go for it. You know, if you can't see yourself waiting months for a wax order, there are plenty of vendors that have shorter tats that are great and will give you great wax. It really is all up to you. You know, I think I am still waiting for one particular order. I believe that was placed like 2 months ago. You know, so I will wait. I'm the kind of person, I'll wait. It doesn't matter. Another thing I want to talk about is RTS, ready to ship. So what that means is that some vendors will only stock RTS or will partially stock RTS, and those are ready to ship items. They are already made. They are already ready to go into the box and be mailed to you. If you want your wax and you want it now, you want it fast, I would go for RTS, ready to ship items. And normally vendors will either all be completely RTS, or if you go to their section, they'll have like an RTS section. Just go to there and you can check out what they have. Now, if you order RTS, what that really means is that you may not be able to get all the scents that you want, because you're limited obviously to what do they have in stock. So like I said, if there's something that you like and it's RTS and you want it, go for it. A lot of people will do custom orders, and that can take longer, and those tend to have longer tats, turnaround times, because the vendor, won't pour it until they get your order, obviously. So for example, this is a custom order I did from, Closet Full of Wax, New England Caramel Apples. I blended 5 different scents together, into these chunks. So obviously, Closet Full of Wax, she got the order. Her name is Michelle, and she, had to pour it and make it after she got my order. Now, her custom turnaround time happened to be extremely fast. I think her turnaround time for my custom order was like 5 days. It was kind of crazy. But normally custom takes longer. So artist ship, smaller tat, moving towards custom, longer tat. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule. Who knows? But I would say on average, your average wax vendor will have somewhere between a 7 to 15 business day turnaround time. But the vendors are pretty good about putting it up on their pages when you order from them. Or if you ask them, they also should be pretty good with customer service about telling you, what is the turnaround time, things like that. But that is what people are talking about when you hear them talk about tat. So how much does a wax melt cost? It varies, I would say, depending on, the vendor, how much detail goes in the wax, how much decoration goes into the wax. I would say on average, you will probably pay about $1 to $1.25 an ounce for wax. Some people may disagree and say, hey, that's way too low or that's way too high. I would say that's probably about average. The more detailed that your wax gets, obviously the more expensive the wax is going to get. So like here's an example from one of my favorite vendors, 10 Digit Creations, and this is run by Amber. They're currently closed right now. She's just had a surgery, so she's not open, but I love Amber's stuff. You can see here that it's plain wax. It's not colored. She always puts it in these same little cups. That's the only way that her wax comes. And she probably has some of the best prices, per ounce for wax, because it's very simple. However, they smell divine, right? I mean, it's a simple type of wax. Another one of my favorite vendors that does wax that is not colored and in a very simple form is Two Timing Tart. This is a clamshell here. Her wax is always uncolored, and she mostly does clamshells. You will see her bust out with like candles, different shapes and stuff occasionally, but in general, she mostly does clamshells. I think when you do something like that, you can keep the cost down. Now, you get into vendors, I think like the next average one would probably be, not average as in, I was saying like, you go from like uncolored wax to something like this, which has color and is in kind of like a shape, right? But it's like one shape, something like that. You start to get a little bit more decorative, maybe with something like this where it's one color, but you start to get like embeds or pretty things. This one here is a bathing garden clamshell. You can see that that's beautiful. You get a lot of decoration on there. That takes work, may cost a little bit of extra money. I'm not saying that these do, I'm just saying in general. Here's another one from Starlit Candle. She also does beautiful clamshells. I like hers too because you can tell like that takes some work to put those stars there. So that's decorated. Something like this that I showed you obviously takes more work because, I would imagine she's got to make these chunks, right? Cut up the chunks. The chunks are all different colored and different scented, and put it in something, pour this other wax over it, and then decorate it. So that probably takes more time. Something like this from Closet Full of Wax, which, obviously takes time because look at these different layers. So, Michelle is pouring layer on layer on layer, making these cute little Fruit Loop, embeds, and then putting them on here, pouring this top layer, putting glitter on it. And here's another vendor that does very intricate work. This is Victoria's Designer Creations. This is like a scent shot, and you can look, if you can see this if the camera focuses, those are 3 tiny little embeds of perfectly made blackberry in wax, in more wax, that's a different color with like these sugar crystals on it. It really depends, you guys. So I actually saw a Facebook post go up the other day when somebody was saying, would you rather have like plainer wax, and that maybe you can receive faster, or more intricate wax that may take a little bit longer to get? It's up to you guys. I like having the whole shebang. I like going from very plain wax, like from 10 Digit Creations, all the way up to, I would say like a Victoria's Designer Creations type wax, which is very intricate, and everything in between. I love it all. You guys can decide what you like for yourselves. If you like pretty wax that maybe costs a little bit more and takes longer to get, go for it. If you like plainer wax that you can receive faster, you know, and you don't care what it looks like because it all melts. And once it melts, guess what? It all looks the same once it melted. Then I would say go for it. Try them all out. Who knows? You know, you could find something that you really like. Can you guys tell that I love wax? I love wax. I love it all. So anyways, that's my rant there on different types of, you know, decorative wax to plain wax. Okay, now I want to talk about what is vendor wax. Vendor wax. So this is my own interpretation of vendor wax. Vendor wax is any wax that I would say comes from a small business, whether it be a group of 4 to 5 people that work together to do wax, or as the person that has a full-time job that they do this on the part side. To me, that's like vendor wax, which is pretty much any of the hauls that you guys have seen me do on this channel all comes from vendor wax. Now this is what I would consider not vendor wax. It's something like this from Yankee Candle. These are wax melts. Man, that smells pretty good. These are wax melts, and this just comes, you know, from Yankee, so I would not consider this vendor wax. And you can get these, you know, pretty much anywhere they sell Yankee Candle. They are a tad bit more expensive, I would say, than the vendor wax. People may debate as to how good they are compared to vendor wax, things like that. I know that these are the first wax melts that I bought because I just wanted to get one and get it now. And, you know, it's not like you can walk into a store to get vendor wax unless you live near Rose Girls or where Front Porch is going to open their store, right? So this is probably the easiest kind of thing to get. There's also, I think, Better Homes and Gardens and Sensationals that you can buy, I think, at Walmart. They come in clamshells that you can just go in there and get. I've heard good things about that. Another company that I would not consider vendor wax is something like Scentsy. Scentsy is sort of like Tupperware. You're supposed to buy it through a Scentsy consultant. I do know when I first bought Scentsy, I just went online. I found a consultant that lived in my area. I placed my order on like through her web page, and then my box appeared, so I never actually talked to the consultant, but I ordered like through her page, something like that. So Scentsy is another kind of wax brand that's very popular. They do a lot of different scents. They always come in, you know, like that, and it's like a clamshell that's, you know, a little bit different shaped, I would say, obviously, than like the normal clamshell. It always looks like that, like a rectangle. This is like the shape of the Scentsy clamshell. So Scentsy is, you know, I like Scentsy. I have a lot of Scentsy stuff. So I would say that, however, I wouldn't consider it vendor wax. So Scentsy, Better Homes and Gardens, Sensational, Yankee Candles, those are the ones that are, you know, more coming from the big companies. Any of the other companies, like all of my hauls, are the small, what I would consider small wax vendor companies. And I prefer to buy from the wax vendor companies. I like supporting the small businesses, and you can get a lot of different shapes and scents, I would say, with the vendors that you can't get as much with the bigger companies. Not that there's anything wrong with the bigger companies. I feel like I'm going to get slayed making this video because you guys are going to be watching this and hating everything that I'm saying. But, you know, obviously I have a lot of this type of wax and vendor wax. You know, it just kind of depends. Either you got to try a little bit of this and a little bit of that to see what you like. But that's what vendor wax is. It's whenever just somebody who owns a lot of wax, someone like myself, just a buyer of wax, finds out that they either have too much wax or maybe that there's scents that they order that they're just, it's not for them. What they would do is what's called a destash. So they'll go into their own personal wax collection, pull out a little bit of this, a little bit of that, put it into like, you know, one clump. They'll normally take a picture of it or a video of it, post it on either YouTube or one of the Facebook destash group pages, and then say like, hey, here's this destash. It's going to cost you $40 shipped. It is 60 ounces of wax. You know, I have a non-smoking home, but I have a dog-friendly home. Something like that is your typical type of destash. And people will normally try to tend to destash things in like a group of scents. Like this is a fall destash or a winter destash or a fruity/fruity bakery destash. Something like that, so you can pick up something that you think you're most likely going to like. In order to buy destashes, you're going to have a PayPal account, I would say. The easiest way to do it is probably on one of the Facebook destash group pages. You could probably find them if you just search like destash, wax destash. There's a couple of them that come up. They're closed groups. You're going to have to request to join. And some of the YouTubers on here, I know I've seen them do destashes on their YouTube channels with like a first one to comment kind of thing. Normally when you see a destash, it'll say the first one to comment will get it. So if you see one that you like, you can put like me or I'd like to buy this in the comment. Then you'll have to send the person that is sending you the destash, send them your your PayPal email address, they'll invoice you, you pay, they ship, everybody's happy. Now there have been issues the past couple weeks I've seen with people that, you know, are maybe not honest in the destash. And when I say people, I think what I'm really trying to say is person that is not honest with their destashes. So a lot of these destash groups will have like files that people can comment on, like, hey, this person was a great destasher, like fast shipping, prompt, you know, or they'll comment on the seller, like prompt payment, etc. So you can kind of get a feel on maybe who you can trust and who you can't trust in these destash groups. I would say that like 99% of the people in there you can trust, even like 99.9%. But people always say buyer beware, right? I know when I first started buying destashes, I bought from Vintage Chic 1927 because I saw her YouTube videos, I saw how she cared for her wax, I saw what she had, and I saw that she had already done tons of destashes, so obviously she was somebody that I could trust. So that's kind of like how I started to do it. And then once you go into these destash groups, you can sit there and watch and you can see like, well, this person has a lot of destashes that are being sold, or people tend to want this person's destashes, so you can get an idea of who's probably a good destasher or who can trust, things like that. You know, but don't go in there and just start buying blindly, I would say. Do hover first, do a little bit of research. If my voice is cracking, if this is your first foray into wax, I would say that destashes are a great way to probably get an introduction, because you're going to get the wax for cheaper. You'll probably pay somewhere between 50 to 80 cents an ounce for wax in a destash versus if you bought it retail. And you're going to get a variety of different vendors and a variety of different scents. It's a great way to, it's like a gateway drug into wax. I bought 3 destashes from Vintage Chic 1927, and oh boy, it just exploded from there, because she had so much good stuff in there and so many different scents I had never thought about trying. I tailspin out of control, as you guys that watch my hauls have noticed. So that's what a destash is. So I would say hit up the people on Facebook and YouTube, check out what's going on, check out the files, see who's got a good reputation, you know, see if someone's destashing someone in something that you like. I believe you can negotiate the price. If there's something that you really want and it's from a good destasher with a good reputation, and if you want it, I say jump on it. You know, don't wait. But destashes are a great way to go if you want to try a little of this and a little of that. Alright, I want to give a quick note about wax storage. So whenever you get wax tarts, you should always get them in some kind of polypropylene plastic container, bag, something like that. Generally, you don't want to put your wax stuff in Ziploc bags. You always want it to be polypropylene. It's the wax that's like the number 5. So for example, okay, I'm hoping, come on, focus here. Come on, camera, work with me. Okay, well, this may or may not work, but the little like recycle triangle is right here, and that's a 5 in there. So that's what you want to see, like on any kind of scent shot cups or hard plastic, is you want to see that 5. Polypropylene bags are sold in many different kinds of forms. I think the most popular type, this is like an Ava's Country Covered tart bar, like will be in some kind of resealable bag, so like that, right? And then you can open it up obsessively and smell it. Oh, it smells so good. And then reseal it and do the same thing and smell it again. Okay, that's the beauty of resealable bags. And you can tell from here, polypropylene, it's crinkly, it's loud, it makes a lot of noise. Now, there's plastic out there that's crinkly that is not polypropylene. So you do want to be careful, you know, that it is. Now, pretty much all the vendors that I've ordered from, any of the good vendors out there, which is pretty much, you know, which is most of them, will always have their stuff in polypropylene anyway, so you're not really going to have to worry about it. I mean, like Ava's Country Covered, I'm not going to ever question that this is a polypropylene bag. It's a polypropylene bag. It's Ava's Country Covered. I know that she knows what she's doing. So I'm not really worried about that. Now, a lot of people will actually purchase their own like polypropylene bags. I know that I've ordered like 500 of like a 4x6 bag and like 500 of a 3x5 bag. Sometimes if I want to repackage stuff, or if I'm giving stuff as a gift, like, you know, I know like over the holidays, like if my mom wanted to try some of this, I would take like 2 of these tarts and put it in its own separate bag and give it to her, things like that. So if you do buy polypropylene bags on a lot of the like the generic wax Facebook pages, they'll have like a document that may show different bags, the recommendations of what to order, and recommendations of who to order from. So check like the file section of your group pages. There may be something there, or you can just ask and be like, hey, where's a good vendor to buy polypropylene bags from, things like that. Another popular way to store the wax is in like a bakery bag. Now, I wasn't familiar with like bakery bags until I got into wax. I mean, so bakery bags come in two sizes. They either come in a ½ pound size or a 1 pound size. I think I have a ½ pound size down here. Yeah, okay. This is like, I think this is like the ½ pound size, and this is the 1 pound size of bag. Now, whenever you get these from a vendor, once again, they're all good vendors. They're all going to send them to you in the right kind of bag. You do want, they should be polypropylene lined. They should be kind of crinkly. Once again, there is plastic that's crinkly that's not polypropylene, but if it's coming from, especially any of the vendors that I order from, I know that they got it right. You can also buy bakery bags on like eBay, I think, and the other different sites. I know when I get a loaf and I cut it up, like this Starlight Candles loaf, I think it already got sent cut, but eventually when I use this, I'm going to chop it up even more, and then I'm going to put it into like a 1 pound bakery bag that I have bought myself to store it. And other people do it different ways. You don't have to buy the bakery bags. You don't have to buy the extra polypropylene bags. If there's somebody else that you know that's into wax, you may want to order like a greater quantity of it, because it's cheaper if you order a greater quantity and then split the cost and the the amount of bags that you get. Something like that. But polypropylene, that is what you're looking for. That recycle number 5. And also as far as storage, so now let's say you've ordered some stuff and you got a lot of wax and it's sitting like around in your mail, the boxes that comes in, you're like, what do I do with it? So there's different ways to store wax. This is a container I got from the Container Store. It's actually one that shoes go in, but when I ordered it, it very clearly said it was like made of polypropylene. I'm trying to see if it's got the number on here. It actually does. You guys may not be able to see it, but it's right there is the number 5. So if you do end up storing your wax in like you want to store it in another container, make sure that it's a polypropylene container. I think for the most part, anything that you can store food in is polypropylene, because it doesn't suck like scent or whatever out of what's in it. So like food storage stuff, I think, is polypropylene in general. Sterilite makes a lot of really good polypropylene containers. If you want ideas for storage, there's a ton of great wax collection and storage videos. A lot of people get those like, tiered drawers, like with the plastic drawers that either can store craft stuff or that you can get easily like in Target or Michael's and things like that. So you can get those. You guys can watch my own collection video to see how I do it. For the most part, everything is in like this, in like stored in things that I stack inside a cabinet, because my husband didn't want me to get the drawers. So you can get tons of different storage options really out there for you. Just make sure that it's polypropylene. I also have heard that, I don't know if it's true, that it's better to store like stuff, like these are all in polypropylene bags in a polypropylene container. But I have heard that it's better to store stuff like this, like in a basket, like an open air basket, rather than put it into any kind of plastic container. I've heard that from a vendor. I don't even remember which one. I don't know if that's true. But I also know that like if you go to Target, they've got those like cute cubes, that you can put like wicker little like round, like not round, wicker cube little drawers in. They come in like a group of 9 cubes or 6 cubes. So I would imagine something like that would probably be ideal, because it's like you store your, like everything comes in a polypropylene container or whatever, and then you just put it in like a basket thing and it's more open air. Whatever. Anyways, that's kind of some ideas for storage and that kind of stuff. I want to give one tip about becoming obsessed with wax. There comes a time when you start to melt so much wax from so many different vendors, and each of the vendors has like so many different scents that you can't even remember what the heck you melted, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you liked. You don't even know. Your world is spinning. Oh my God, you're drowning in wax. So this is one thing that I did. I picked up this cute book. I think I just got it from like the Navy Exchange. But what I do in this book is, okay, I'm gonna have to put this up a little bit. Okay, and what I do in this book is I have tabs here for every single vendor that I've ordered from. So you can see like Tendency Creation, Spotted Hawk, Bathing Garden, Closet Full of Wax, Ava's, Hay Creek, Cross Creek Country Candles, Daphne's, Victoria's, Designer Creations, Rose Girls, Mariposa, Steel Valley. So you can see like, and that's not all of them, but these are all the vendors that I so far have placed orders from. And when I open this up to every single page, it'll show me kind of like what I have thought of that scent. So like this is my rainbow melts page, and I'll write down like the scent, what I thought of it, how was the throw. If it's a must buy, I put like an underline of it, so I know that like when Rainbow Melts is doing a restock, I'll come back to my page and be like, yep, like these 3 scents are the ones I'm looking for, or I haven't tried that scent yet, I want to try that. But if you think that you're going to get to a point that you may be melting like hundreds of different tarts, and that comes pretty easily, you guys. You may not think that it does, but it does. Then I would definitely recommend getting a journal. A lot of people, I think, will have like Excel spreadsheets that they'll keep track of that kind of stuff. Some people may even do like a Microsoft Access database. Hey, all the power to you. I can't work with Microsoft Access at all. Really, whatever organization works for you, but I would recommend starting it as soon as you can, because I know that I didn't buy my journal until like a month or two into my wax melting, so there's a lot of stuff that I melted that I could not tell you what it was, if I liked it, because I just can't remember. So that's just one tip I would give to keep track of it. It's also a great way to keep track of orders, and it's also, I also have a separate notebook that I use to think of scent blends. Or, you know, like when Rose Gross was opening, I wrote down, actually hand wrote, because I'm stupid like that, I like to handwrite stuff, hand wrote every single scent description and looked at them and was like, what would go good with, well, not every single one, the ones that I liked, so don't worry, I wasn't writing for hours, you know, but sometimes it's kind of good to do that. I actually will also print out like the whole scent list from vendors, like cut and paste it, minimize it so it doesn't take up as much space, and kind of like really take a look at the scent blends. And for me, that's the fun sometimes, especially when you're trying a new vendor. Like I just placed an order with Case Creations that I'm super excited about. And this weekend I printed out the whole scent list and went through it for like an hour and like starred the scents that I thought I really liked, starred the ones that I thought would go really good with blends, etc. So sometimes that's like the fun in it too. So I would recommend getting some way to document it, and then also having fun with it too. You know, scent blends, they're tons of fun. Alright, so in this section I want to talk about what is the wax community and what role does Facebook and YouTube have to play in the wax community. So the wax community to me is just, you know, a fabulous group of men and women, mostly women, buyers, vendors, people who both buy and, you know, sell their own wax, that come together for a love of wax. You know, people that like to talk about wax, you know, exchange ideas, exchange scent blends, show off what they bought, you know, comment on other people's things, be excited for everybody else. To me, that's what the wax community is. And if you want to find the wax community, I'd say the easiest place to find them, people like me and other people like Waxies and everything, and get involved would be on Facebook. Okay, I'm gonna do a little Facebook rant here. As a general rule, I really don't like Facebook. There has been some talk lately about, you know, people that have fake profiles on Facebook or people that aren't real on Facebook. And sometimes I feel bad because I think they're talking about me, because I'll be honest, some of my subscribers out there know my Facebook name. That is actually not my real name. I do not have a Facebook name under my actual name, just because I just don't want to connect with anybody from high school, or, you know, want to see what my work acquaintances are doing and things like that. And I just, you know, my family, I talk to the people in the family that I want to talk to. You know, I don't know, I'm just not a big fan of Facebook in general. But when I first got into wax, I was missing out on openings, I was missing out on sale information and stuff like that. And I kind of said, well, the only way for me to really get involved is to get a Facebook account. So I did. And my Facebook name is very similar to my real name, very, very similar. So vendors that I've ordered from that may be watching this, you know my actual name. It is my PayPal name that's listed on that account, and you know the Facebook name is similar. But I did that to stay in the DL. But if you want to get involved, it probably is easier to go to Facebook. Every single vendor, for the most part, I believe, like 99% sure, has a Facebook business page. You know, the type that's open to anybody. You click like, and then it shows up on your news feed. They will post information about sales and stuff there. But I would also say most of the vendors also have a private Facebook group page that you're going to have to request to join, and that's where you really can find the people who love that vendor and want to ask questions like, when's the next opening? Hey, can anyone recommend a good scent blend? Or hey, I posted a picture of my haul, and you want to comment back and be excited for them and have them be excited for you. That's the kind of energy you get on a Facebook group page. Or the hype, you know, before a vendor's opening, for vendors that don't open all the time, you know, when everyone's all hyped up and exchanging ideas of what they want to buy and speculating at opening times. That kind of energy kind of really comes from Facebook. So I would say to get involved easily, probably go to Facebook. You probably want to join at least one generic like wax Facebook group page. I'm not going to name any of them here, but you can find them easily enough. And then probably want to join the vendor group pages as you find vendors that you like or vendors that you want to try. So I think that's Facebook. You do not have to be part of Facebook to be part of the wax community. Not at all. Not at all. You're no way excluded. It may be harder to get information about sales and stuff, but you can glean that same stuff off of the business pages as well, right? YouTube is a big part, I think, of the wax community as well. Obviously, I consider myself a YouTuber. There's a lot of people that I subscribe to that I love their YouTube channels. You know, we post hauls and reviews and our thoughts and this and that and everything, and I love watching those types of videos. And I think that's another big part of it too. So Facebook and YouTube. But once again, you don't have to be part of either one to be part of the wax community. In my opinion, as long as you love wax, you know, and you are interested in wax and want to buy wax or are buying wax, I would consider you part of the wax community. It's not like a club though. It's not like, you know, an exclusive club that's like, oh, like, we're the wax community, like, we don't want to talk to you. No. That's just a generic name that I'm giving to this group of people who come together for the love of wax. I will say that if you go to these Facebook group pages, especially if you're not a person who gets on Facebook like me, you know, sometimes you run into drama on Facebook. Obviously, when you get a large group of people together, opinions will collide. You'll see that occasionally. It doesn't happen all the time. I mean, maybe once every 2 to 3 weeks, I see some kind of conflict come up on a page. Most of the time it gets resolved amicably, or the admins are really good at controlling that stuff or taking down posts. That does happen occasionally. I wouldn't let that deter you away from joining these Facebook groups. And hey, if it happens and, you know, it turns you off, you know, you can hide the post, don't comment or things like that. You know, I'm not going to really get into it more from here. It happens when you get a group of people together that all have very strong opinions on things, right? We all love our wax. We all come together for the love of wax, and you know, I'd like to think that that's really what unites us. So that's kind of what I think the wax community is, and the role of Facebook and YouTube in the wax community. Okay, so I think I'm going to call this video a day because I've been looking at these clip lengths and it is long already. I do want to talk about different vendors, and I'm a little bit worried about doing that part of the video because I think I might get slayed giving my opinions on the vendors, and people may kind of get mad at me about it. But if you guys think that this is a good type of video, let me know, and I will do like an introduction to wax vendors video and show you kind of what's out there, what each of these companies are probably the most known for, things like that, to maybe help you narrow down your search for what you're looking for in a wax vendor. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoy this. Hey, comment below. I'm hoping to get a lot of comments on this video to see if it's useful at all to any of you guys out there. I hope you guys are having a good day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.